Okay, so now we're asked to find the maximum value. The absolute only difference here is that this A has a negative, which tells you that the parabola is going to be opening down. So that's how we know that the maximum value is what we're looking for. That's the only difference, is that this is a negative value here. We're going to go about this exactly the same way in how we complete the square. So the first thing that we want to do is to get this into that x squared plus bx format, which means I need to get rid of this 7. I need to move it away, move it over to the other side. So I'm going to do that by subtracting 7 from both sides. And what I'm left with then is y minus 7 equals negative x squared plus 2x. Now, this is not exactly in this format yet because I have that negative value out front. You can either just factor it out and leave it off to the side right here if you want. I think that's what your notes do on the slide. Or you can do like what the notes said from last week, whereas you divide everything by a, and so in this case a is that -1. So I'm going to do it that way here. I'm going to divide everything by a -1 to get rid of my negative out front there. So that means I have to divide everything on this side and everything on this side by a -1. So what that does then is it gives me a negative y plus 7 equals positive x squared minus 2x. Now that it's in that format that I like, I can go about completing the square, okay? So I need to find my b, which is -2. So I take half of -2, which is -1, and I square that value. -1 squared is a +1. That's my newly created c, remember? And so I have to go and tack that on here and tack that on here. I add it to both sides of my equation. So when I do that, I end up with negative y plus 8, because 7 plus 1 is 8, equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now, this is a perfect square trinomial, so I can easily factor this using patterns. On the left side, I'm left with negative y plus 8 equals, I can factor this. This is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square. I have a negative and a positive in between, so I know that it's going to be minus. The square root of 1 is 1. Right? Which makes sense because -1 times -1 is a +1, and -1 plus -1 is -2. And you're always looking to see what multiplies to be that number and adds to be that middle number. So you have x minus 1 squared. That's what you're going to end up with there. Now we're very close to getting it into our vertex form. I need to move this 8 back over. So I can subtract 8 from both sides because I'm trying to get that y by itself. I'm left with negative y equals x minus 1 squared minus 8. And now I need to get this negative away from the y. So I'm going to divide everything out by 1 here. And then that's where it wouldn't have mattered if you factored out your negative first or if you're doing it at the end here like I am. So you're left with y equals negative x minus 1 squared, because that would distribute out to everything. And then this negative and a negative becomes a positive 8. Okay, so now it's in vertex form. When it's in vertex form, you know that h and k is your vertex. So, because it's minus h, I know that h is actually 1, and my k is 8. I'm trying to find the maximum value, so I know that my maximum is y equals 8.